Hey guys, my name is Timio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formats out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question is, do you think Fuze's Gadget should get an option in Rainbow Six Siege to use flashbangs instead of the frag grenades? I really like this idea. Fuze isn't necessarily a bad operator right now, but I'm sure you've had those situations where you're playing on hostage, where you place Fuze's Gadget next to a wall that isn't anywhere near the objective. It's like a mile away from the hostage room itself, but then for some random reason, the grenade bounces off every single goddamn wall and then lands directly on the hostage and your team loses. It's incredibly frustrating. And so it would be nice if you had an option, not only on hostage, but also on the other game modes, to instead of just blow everyone up that's around a room, maybe just flash it to all eternity so that you can go in with your teammates and kill everyone with your primary weapon. That's a really cool concept. The problem that we run into, though, is how effective would this actually be? The main reason why Fuze is nowhere near as good as he used to be is that I believe that Ubisoft nerfed him a long time ago. If memory serves, during the beta, it felt like he was setting off mini nukes every single time that he activated his gadget. It was pure insanity. He was getting multi-kills left and right, but I think one of the biggest contributing factors is that most people just know what to look out for and know how to counter Fuze at this point. Everyone knows what sound to listen for when a Fuze is on the offensive team, and so as soon as he's about to activate his gadget, everyone's gonna vacate the premises long before he's even able to get a single one of his frag grenades into the room, and so it becomes completely useless. That's the same problem that we run into with this flashbang variant. If it's just as loud and it has the same pitfalls as the other version, while it might cause the enemy to get flushed out and might make them move out of their highly defensive location, if they're behind a deployable shield, it might get them away from that spot. That's all it really accomplishes. And so I feel like the only way that this thing would actually be effective is if they slightly changed how it functioned when you were using the flashbang version. First of all, or one idea that I had was maybe they could make it more silent when you're placing it on a wall so the enemy doesn't have that really loud audible cue to let them know to get out of the room. If it was quiet and stealthy and then all of a sudden flashbangs just started popping off, then I could see that being a little bit more useful. Regardless though, I really like this idea. Not only just because it gives you another tool that you can play around with, but it also would hopefully make Fuze more viable when you are playing on hostage, or make it just so that you don't just flat out kill the hostage and lose it for your team. Will Ubisoft ever do this? Probably not. I would be very surprised if they made such a dramatic change, a very dramatic shift to the way that his gadget performs, considering that like I said, I don't think that he's one of the worst operators in the game. Like, he's pretty average right now, or very good in the right hands. Maybe they will do something with the upcoming DLC. We still do have 2 DLCs left, and so maybe one of the 4 new operators will have Fuze's gadget, but the flashbang version, maybe that's what they have up their sleeve. Well, only time will tell at this point, but I really like the idea, and I would not complain if they decided to do something along these lines. The next question comes from Joe, and it is, do you think that all classes should have access to the bolt-action rifles without scopes in Battlefield 1? Now, while this would be a hell of a lot more authentic and way more realistic than the current system that they have, where everyone's using LMGs or submachine guns depending on your class, I'm gonna go with a no. Now, I know, realism is good and everything, but I would much rather them focus on having really solid, defined roles with their class balance. First of all, this would really hamper the effectiveness, in my opinion, of the Scout or the Recon class. If every other class has access to a bolt-action rifle that functions similarly, then what's the reason of playing as the Recon? Sure, you won't have access to the higher optics, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons, but if you're still able to snipe people and one-shot them like you can with the other bolt-action rifles in the game, then that's gonna lessen the power, or at least that uniqueness of that playstyle of that class. I kinda want to avoid that, or hopefully DICE is trying to avoid that. One small critique that I've had with Battlefield 4, and it is a small critique, it is by no stretch of the imagination game-breaking, is that because there is a wide selection of all kit weapons, you've got your shotguns, designated marksman rifles, and carbines, it means that basically every class can play play practically identically, except for, of course, the gadget you have available to you. You can have a recon that plays pretty much like an assault player, or pretty much like an engineer, because they both have access to these really great close encounter weapons. You could have an assault player use a designated marksman rifle and have the same kind of long-range killing potential that you would get when you were playing as the recon class. The result of this is that rock, paper, scissor balance that DICE has been known for a very long time. You look back at pretty much every other Battlefield game, every class and every vehicle has their direct counter. You don't get that as much because there is this wide selection of weapons that you can choose from for every single one of the classes. And so I'm assuming what DICE is trying to accomplish with Battlefield 1 is that they really want to have their defined roles for each of the kits. You play as Assault, you're going to be designated for close encounter combat. You want to play more of the medium game, then the designated marksman rifles for the medic or the LMGs is going to be right up your alley. If you want to snipe, then you're really going to have to play as the scout class for that long range combat. As soon as you start to give everyone bolt action rifles, or you start to give them all these different options when you're playing as these kits, then you start to muddy the waters once again, and we run into the same issues that we have with Battlefield 4. Like I mentioned, it's a small critique. It's not a huge issue, but it really seems like DICE is trying to have these distinctions between all the other classes, and I'm kind of glad that they're deciding to do this. And while I know that some people are going to disagree with this, I know that there's a lot of people out there that want to have that true World War I experience, that authenticity, where everyone is using bolt-action rifles. I think hopefully from that standpoint, you can understand why they have decided to go down this path, and it makes a little bit more sense. The next question comes from Patrick, and it is, what do you think about adding in a helicopter spawn into Rainbow Six Siege on the rooftops on some of the maps like Bank, Consulate, etc.? Yes, I absolutely want a helicopter spawn. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this is actually how they first showed off Rainbow Six Siege many E3s ago. At E3, if I remember right, they showed off a trailer where everyone was carted in on offense in a helicopter. They rappelled on down, and then they started the breaching process. It was incredibly badass, but for some reason, Ubisoft eliminated the helicopter spawn from the game long before the beta. I think long before the alpha. I've never seen the helicopter spawn on in, and it was a massive disappointment. The only thing I can think of for why they decided to eliminate this from the game is that everyone would probably choose this when they were on offense. Why would you want to pick any other spawn in the game if you can get right onto the building and start the breaching process? Not only because it doesn't leave you vulnerable when you're running on in. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've died. I'm sure this has happened to you, where you're running from your spawn over to the objective, and then some asshole runs out of the building really quickly, even before you're able to retaliate, really, because you're not expecting it, and lands a cheeky headshot. Or a guy's in a window and they snipe you from across the map. This happens a lot in Rainbow Six Siege, and I imagine if you could just spawn onto the building, everyone would do it because you avoid that process entirely. You also just get into the action significantly faster, and so maybe they wanted to slow that process down as well. And so, yeah, I'm completely on board with this idea. I imagine it's never going to be added on in because it would have been in the game originally, because it was in the game originally, and they took it out, I'm assuming, for balancing reasons. But I absolutely love this concept. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.